Hi everyone, welcome to today's lesson. Today we are going to cover the Romeo and Juliet scene analysis project. So this is going to be a multi-day project. You should come back to this video recording several times throughout the process. So most of the information will be housed here. I'll toss in some other ones in later assignments, but if you have any questions, come back here before you go anywhere else. So I'll give you a quick overview of the project. We have obviously finished our reading of Romeo and Juliet. We took a test on it at this point. So this is going to be kind of your opportunity to go through and do some analysis, looking back at the movie, at the play, but also looking at it in a little bit different of a format. So quick overview of the project. What you're going to do is you are going to choose two scenes from a film version of Romeo and Juliet. We've watched a couple different film versions in class. We've watched the 1968, the 1996, but there are a bunch more film options. I'll talk about those in a second. But what you're going to do is you're going to choose one scene from the play that you think was remade into a movie scene well, so like they did a good job of representing what you thought was going on in the play, and then one scene that you thought was recreated poorly. So we're going to use both of these to do a little bit of movie and play critiquing, and then you're going to analyze how the film version recreated that scene, and then you're going to write an analysis on it. So you can see it's a multi-step process. We'll be working on this for, I think, about 6 days. Next week, I'll give you what that analysis should look like, but we're on choosing those scenes at the beginning. So if you're thinking about how do I start, this sounds like a huge project. You're going to start by really watching some clips from the movie or going back to the play and thinking like, what scenes stood out, what scenes might I want to look at the representation for. To do that, you're just going to hit Google and YouTube and check out those videos. We've been watching them in class, so you can go back and check some of ours out. You're not going to be allowed to do the ones that we've kind of analyzed a little bit together in class. So like the opening fight scene, the fight between Tybalt and Mercutio, and the balcony scene, those 3 big ones from the play. I'm going to ask you guys to go to other places that's stated on the handout that goes along with this. But when you're searching to find those videos, you can really just search for like clips from Romeo and Juliet 1968 version, or 1996 version, or 1976 or 2013. I think they drop in quality as they go down, so it's up to you which one you think has the scenes you want or portrays it, or you really like the 1996 one and want to use that one for the positive, you can, and then use the 1968 for the negative. So you don't have to use all the same movie. You can use different versions. You can kind of approach picking that scene however you want. But what you're going to do after you have your scene chosen, you're going to go back into the play and reread those scenes and kind of look at the similarities and differences. So that's kind of the first step, figuring out what scenes you're going to do, what meets your expectations between the play representation, the movie representation, and there will be some guidelines on how to go through that process. So day 1 is just taking a look at these directions. Day 2 is picking out which scenes you're going to use, and then day 3 is going to be going in and actually doing some of that analysis. So to do the analysis, once you know which scenes you're going to use, you're going to want to go back to the play and take a look at it there and see, okay, what's actually going on in this scene. Pick like 5 or 10 lines from the play that you think represent it well or are important to that part, and then decide what aspect of the scene should be represented in the film version. So essentially, once you've chosen your scenes, go back into the play version and take a look at how it's written. So I'll give you an idea here. I'm going to do an example with the Tybalt and Mercutio fight scene. Obviously, you guys can't use it after this. Again, this is broken down day by day. This is an overview. You should come back to this. When you're watching this the first time, if it's feeling overwhelming, don't worry. Come back to it because it's going to be broken down in each assignment piece by piece. So my first example, this is what it looked like in the play version. So the scene is Tybalt enters looking for Mercutio, or looking for Romeo, but instead finds Mercutio and Benvolio. He seems angry and Mercutio keeps joking around with him. This pushed Tybalt over the edge and they start to fight. I pulled out some lines from Mercutio and but one word with one of us, Tybalt Mercutio, thou consortest with Romeo. So I pulled these lines out because they're showing how playful the characters are being in this. So that's kind of my expectation for the video version. The film version, I'm expecting them to show some of this playfulness. So kind of having an expectation in mind of what you're going to see in the film version is going to help you to actually go and critique that film version when you get there. So, okay, you have an idea of what it looks like. You know what scenes you're going to use. Now you're going to go through and actually do a little critiquing and analyzing of that film element. We're going to look at it through 2 different aspects. We're going to look at the dramatic or theatrical aspects and the cinematic aspects. So things that'll fall under the dramatic theatrical aspects are things like a visualization of the action, What are the characters actually doing on stage? How are they moving around? How is the stage designed? The acting the actors do, how does their voice sound? What tone are they giving to a speech they're giving? What facial and body expressions are they using as they're giving it? And then costumes. Are they dressed a certain way? Does that contribute to, like for an example with mine, is it contributing to the playfulness? For yours, it may be more to the seriousness. So those are the dramatic theatrical aspects. And then for the cinematic aspects, we're gonna be looking more at like the how was the movie shot. So like, where's the camera position? Is it focusing on the people's eye level because we need to see their facial expression? Is it overhead because it's the balcony scene and I want to see like how far apart they are? Does the camera zoom in to show you like a facial expression or move quickly around at certain points of the scene? So all of that stuff are going to be options that you can look at. When I get to my analysis, the video that I'm using is also posted to today's assignment, so you can kind of look at what I did with it and see if that helps you to get through that analysis part. Sound effects, what sounds are used? What impact do they have? So is there a laugh track in the background? Do we hear like swords hitting each other? Lighting, if you're in a day scene or a night scene, how is the lighting used? Is it focused in on one person? Is it hiding one person? So these are all things you're going to think about. Come back to this list when you are doing it for your own. Use my example when you're doing it for your own. So again, you're going to do this twice. You're going to have two different scenes. You're going to have one that was done well, one that was done poorly. And then for each scene, you're going to choose two dramatic or theatrical aspects and two cinematic aspects. So you're doing 4 and 4. So this is what it would look like for one. Again, you're going to do this twice. So for Tybalt and Mercutio's fight scene, for the dramatic or theatrical aspect, the first one I said was the acting. So when Mercutio's first beat in the fight, he rolls his eyes and starts whistling. And again, I'm looking for that playfulness. So on the right, I talk about how, that choice kind of emphasizes the playfulness. The second part that I see, visualization of the action. When Tybalt has the pitchfork, he's going after Mercutio like he's raking hay. Again, that interaction between the characters showing a little bit of playfulness. The next one for cinematic, the camera position and distance. We get a close-up at the end when the sword goes into Mercutio and kills him. And then it zooms in on Tybalt's face and he's like worried. So that contradiction to all the playfulness is what stood out to me in that scene. And the camera position and distance there kind of focused that. And then the use of sound effects to help with that idea of playfulness. Everyone who's there watching it is kind of laughing at what's going on, so it takes some of the seriousness out of it. So for my scene, you can see all the different ways that what's going on in the scene contributes to that idea of playfulness, and there's my critique of the film part. And again, I'm saying that this is done well. So all of these things are positives that I'm noticing. The director made these decisions to help show this thing from the play. So that idea of this is a lot of work, how do I break it down? I wanted to give you guys a big picture overview, and day one, all you have to do is watch this video presentation. When I'm done, there are a couple questions just to make sure that this made sense, but don't start stressing yet. As you go through day by day, you'll see, oh, this is one part of it that I have to do, and each part will make sense on its own. So day two, tomorrow after you watch this, you're gonna choose some scene options. So you might get your 2 right away, you might kind of put together 5 or 6 or 7 clips that you might use and then make some decisions from there. But day 2, you're just gonna watch some scenes, reread some scenes in the play and kind of get a sense of what's going on. And then day 3 is when you'll actually start doing some of that analysis. So you're gonna start analyzing those film clips by filling out those examples that I just showed you. You're gonna do that for your own. There will be a handout on day 3's assignment. And I've also kind of built it so that day 3, that's a lot of the work. If you need 2 days for that one, day 4 is really light. Day 4 is just going to preview what does the final product and the writing requirements look like. Those are going to come in next week. So keep in mind that day 4 will be brief. It'll be an overview of the write-up part. So day 3 will be most of your work. If you need 2 days to be doing that part or you need to check in about that part, feel free to do that.